Hello, everybody. I'm excited to report on some sessions from EULAR 2024, specifically regarding precision medicine or the science of taking our unique signatures, molecular signatures from our blood, urine, and zeroing in on things like genetics, DNA, etc. And we've been focusing on this for a few years now at these rheumatology conferences, and how by doing so, we can expedite diagnosis, and we can also match treatments to people depending on what might work better or worse for different subgroups. So an advancement, CAR-T, C-A-R-T. You may have heard of it. It's something that's been used in the cancer space for about the last decade, and it has recently moved into the rheumatology space very early. This is not something that you can get in your office, even close to getting in there in the near future. But this is important, and this is why we go and we learn and we see what the potential is out there. So this is very exciting. The CAR-T, which is essentially they go in, they pull out, in this case, T cells. So T cells from your body, they put them into a lab, they mix them all up with some other things, they put them back in your body, and then what ends up happening in the studies of, we had one lupus patient, then 6 lupus patients, and what ended up happening is with that one dose, all went into remission. And not just remission, like what we might think of as remission, like low disease activity, like no disease activity, completely off of all medications. And so that happened 3 years ago. We did hear about it, I think last year at one of the conferences, and they gave us an update and said the person is still in remission. And these were not people with mild disease. These are very serious. One needed a kidney transplant. So that just shows you the power of these. It is a one and done, we think, but we don't know. That's also something important to understand with this CAR-T therapy. It, of course, can be very expensive. We have no idea. Is it going to last 5 years? Is it going to last 10 years? Is it going to last 50 years? We don't know. And that's part of what's happening in the trials, is trying to figure out as they follow these patients who have had it. So in saying that, I wanted to give you, let's see, a very specific, I'm going to go into a patient with lupus and heart and lung disease and treated with this CAR-T, with this T cell extraction. Didn't know if it was going to work, but this person was so severe, they thought they would give it a try. Even though they were completely depleted of all of their B cells, because they were on rituximab, and that is one of the biologics that really do strip your immune system. But even with that, she grew all of the B cells back and replenished, went into remission in 30 days. 100% remission, no medications. So pretty amazing stuff, don't you think? I wanted to let you know, too, it's not just lupus. They're doing these CAR-T studies on myositis, scleroderma, also known as systemic sclerosis. There's some debate, though. Who's going to get these when they are ready, right? How refractory, or refractory means not responding well to many treatments, so you really are not responding to anything. What's going to determine that? Who's going to get access to these? So there is a really big debate there. The other part of that is what diseases. So we have diseases like rheumatoid arthritis that are, for a lot of patients, can be treated pretty easily. But what about the rest of us? Would we even be in line? I don't have RA, but the point is, who gets it? And so that's really just a big discussion. And then to note, though, any existing damage, of course, can't be repaired. So if you have any type of, things that have happened because of your RA or because of your lupus or Sjogren's or anything, that cannot be undone. But so you do have to consider that as far as remission goes. And then another session that I watched was specific to scleroderma or systemic scleritis. But I do want to point out, just because I'm saying that, don't tune out. Don't say, oh, not my disease, I don't care. You do care. Let me tell you why. Because these studies open the doors for the rest of us. So understanding and being educated on the possibilities is something that we all should talk about and learn about. It also ties into, when do we get treated? So before they started talking about the CAR-T or the precision medicine, in diseases that don't have as many treatments, don't have as many as some of the other diseases, they're having to really start to understand when is the right time to treat. We do know historically, all of our diseases, we have seen a process called treat to target, or working with the rheumatologist to be on a drug after a certain amount of time not working so well, we shift. And that is a treat to target. We know that works. We have seen research presented to us in the last several years showing those who are treated early with the right treatments have better outcomes, actually can achieve a remission. It's an actual word that we're actually seeing, but it always involves that early intervention. So that is obviously something that they're targeting here, but they also need to understand is they're developing treatments that are precise, whether it's CAR T or simply targeting certain molecules or different signatures so that they can see what's working best. They're going back to all of the old research for these clinical trials they specifically were doing Actemra. So they looked through and they said, where are our subgroups? Because back when these studies went on, they weren't considering what might respond better in male or female, what might respond better in a person who has long-term disease versus early disease. And so all of these are subgroups. What subgroup do you fall into? So these are things that they went back and they're looking and seeing, did any of these people in this group respond better or worse? And they did find out that there were some data that showed early intervention helped with the skin outcomes. And it also did matter if they had never been treated before and they were early on, they seemed to respond better to people who had been on treatments and had the disease longer. So that's interesting in itself, because why does it matter if you've been on these treatments before versus not? So something matters, but it's just part of what they're trying to explore and understand. They also were looking for what they call predictive markers. So this is something we've been working on in RA, Sjogren's. Oh my gosh, so much in Sjogren's. And I know we're reporting back on that as well. But psoriatic arthritis, spondyloarthritis, there are these predictive markers that they're starting to figure out one biologic works better than others. And wow, wouldn't that be amazing if you could just know, hey, this is going to work for me. So that is all in the process right now. And so they are starting to follow patients in different trials to figure out these subgroups and who might be responding better than others. Let me see. I'm looking at my notes here. And there's another one, and it did talk about the CAR T specific in these patients with scleroderma or systemic scleritis. And they treated 7 patients. So now we've got enough. These are small studies. So they're starting very small and eventually they'll get bigger. And we had 100% in the ones that I just reported back. And this one, it was 7 patients during the 3 months after they received this infusion of the CAR T therapy. Over 70% of these antibodies that were causing their diseases dropped. And so they were able to see this improvement in the skin disease activity. Overall, just decreased about 30% after 120 days. And their ulcerations decreased within 4 weeks. At 400 plus days, so over a year, everyone achieved significant improvement. I want to point out, though, that they didn't talk about remission and drug-free in this one. So I don't know what the difference is between the lupus patients that had such success and the scleroderma patients that didn't quite achieve remission. There was also one patient that their levels kept going back up again. So they didn't fully respond as well. So I don't know why. I don't know if there was something else, a comorbidity or a multi-diagnosis that may have impacted that. I'm not sure. They didn't go over that, but it would be interesting to note. So wrapping it up, it's just really good to know that all of this type of research, it's early, but it's happening and it's stretching out to many diseases. And just curious, what are your thoughts about this exciting new era of treatment? So we're really starting to think about this word remission. It's just amazing. So there's my report and more coming here from EULAR 2024.